Have you ever had a moment where you realized that you might be wrong? And then there are the times when we are not open to changing our thinking, even when we receive new information that potentially could change things, could potentially change our thinking on a particular issue. Have you ever done that? In this first section, it sets up the context for the body of the story. The apostles were performing many signs and wonders, and they were also proclaiming the gospel. The high priest and his officials had the apostles arrested and thrown in jail. But an angel of the Lord came at night and let the apostles go, and then he tells them to go to the temple and continue preaching. In verses 27 and 28, it says, "Then they brought the apostles before the high council, where the high priest confronted them. 'We gave you strict orders never again to teach in this man's name,' he said. 'Instead, you have filled all of Jerusalem with your teaching about him, and you want to make us responsible for his death.'" What Peter also did in this moment was he presented the gospel to the very people who had Jesus killed. Salvation is offered to all who would receive it. Gamaliel was a very respected man within the Jewish community. He was a leading Pharisee. He wasn't opposed to the idea of the resurrection of the dead. The Sadducees were completely against this idea of resurrection. The Pharisees were open to that concept. So my advice is this: leave these men alone. Let them go. If they are planning and doing these things merely on their own, it will soon be overthrown. But if it is from God, you will not be able to overthrow them. You may even find yourselves fighting against God. He comes across as a man who's starting to kind of put some pieces together. In Acts 5:29, it says, "But Peter and the apostles replied, 'But we must obey God rather than human authority.'" Christians must be prepared to obey God rather than men and bear the cost in doing so. Those who are open will view us in high regard, and it's our job to point them to Jesus. And Jesus himself promised to be with us. And so I will close with this, Matthew 28. "Then Jesus came to them and said, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age.'" Now, I would like to pray with you.